Hello, friends. Welcome to the first episode of Beyond the Contract. I'm Michelle Senko, and I am joined today by my guest, Dominic Janidas, a dear friend and colleague, and really an inspiration to me in the industry.
Thank you.
Welcome today.
Thank
Dominic.
you. I'm so excited
for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is great.
Awesome. Beyond the contract here, we're going to talk about up-to-date and accurate real estate news and information and so much more. We're going to cover what's going on in our communities, community service, government relations, all the things that we actually have gotten involved in through our leadership roles at the REALTORS Association. Dominic is a past president, 2023, and that is when I joined as treasurer. I went from board of directors position to leadership and following in your inspirational footsteps.
Oh, thank you.
And
we just got our hooks into you.
We really did. We had fun along the way, and we've learned so much. And I think really enjoyed stepping sort of alongside of our sales role in both commercial and residential practice. But in our roles at the association, we have so enjoyed working on a higher level for our industry at a local, state, and national level, and really finding that importance of being involved in legislation, in reforms creations, and so much more. So my inspiration really behind the podcast and sharing this information is in line with the mission that I instilled as 2025 president, is Beyond the Contract, of inspiring my peers to get involved, not really viewing the business as this myopic view of sale to sale to sale, but really getting involved on a state and national level, connecting with our leaders and elected officials. How can we advocate for the industry and advocate for our consumers? And so much of that is exactly that, Beyond the Contract. There it is. We're official now.
Yep.
To see the value in that, and I know you can speak to that from your leadership roles. And so tell us a little bit about, how you got started and what you're doing now.
I don't know how much time we have, Michelle. Thank you for having me. I am so excited for your podcast, and I'm so excited for Beyond the Contract. For those of you who might just be starting the journey of following Michelle's career, she's talked about, being president, and she's so much more than that. And she herself is an inspiration. So certainly one to watch in the industry and really get a sense for where the industry is going. We watch Michelle, and so excited to be here, and it's an honor to be a guest on the show. But my journey started fighting it tooth and nail. Actually, I didn't really want to be in real estate. I know you have heard this story in some capacity, but yeah, my family is in real estate. My dad's a builder and developer, and it was always one of those things. Oh, you'll be in real estate. Oh, you'll be in real estate. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And so my career actually started in marketing and PR in the music industry. But I did end up getting my real estate license when I was 19. And I said, okay, I'll just shut my dad up. That's kind of like what I was like, okay, I'm just going to pass by him. I'll get my real estate license, and I'll never use it. Well, surprise.
Never say never.
Never say never. And my flash forward to about 12 years ago, maybe even probably a little bit longer than that now. Oh gosh, no, I think it's longer than that. I don't know, 2013. Maybe that's about right. I reactivated my real estate license. I had got finished my undergrad at Duquesne University, moved to New York, was there for a couple of years, came back, got my MBA, and was working in marketing and PR. But about 13 or so years ago, my family was working on a development, and they needed help here in Pittsburgh. So I reactivated my real estate license, and I said, oh, this will be part-time. I'll still do my marketing and PR and all of that. Nope. That was, it's like baptism by fire. You kind of just get thrown into it. And what I thought I wouldn't like, what I thought I would hate actually is what I ended up loving.
Isn't that amazing?
It's crazy to think that that's how and I hate to admit that like my parents were right.
Yes.
That was one of those
they
things.
Usually are.
Yeah, I just
I've
don't like
learned
to
that
give them.
also.
It's like I don't want to give them that credit, but it's so true.
Yeah.
No, but it's been a very wild ride, an interesting journey. But yeah, about 2013, it's about 13 years ago.
Wow.
And then really the rest was history because I started in residential as most practitioners do, and then kind of quickly segued into commercial about a year into my practice, and that's when I kind of fell in love with that side of the industry. Yeah. And I would say about 90% of my business is commercial and investment, and then some residential here and there, friends, family, referrals, that kind of stuff. And I still enjoy that side, but commercial is absolutely where my heart is.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot.
Yeah,
too.
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Family history with it too. And then from there, I just kind of, when I first got re-licensed, I guess I'll say, when I reactivated my license, I just wanted to know everything and I wanted to have it all kind of figured out. And the only way to really do that was to get involved at the local association level. And that's kind of what started a few years after I got really integrated into the business. It's when I started getting involved at the REALTORS Association of Metropolitan Pittsburgh. And then that's when they dug their claws right into me and snatched me and started with a board seat. And then that turned into treasurer and then VP and then ultimately president in 2023. And you just learn so much along the way. And, you don't realize how much is actually being done behind the scenes. There are so many practitioners out there who don't, and I was one of them before I got involved, that you don't really have a concept of what the association actually does, right? And you're just like, oh, I'm paying dues to this entity that I have to belong to, et cetera, et cetera. And it is so much more than that. And once you get involved and you realize between advocacy, private property rights protection, forms generation, legal. I mean, there's so many facets. We really are fortunate to have such a great association that helps move the industry forward from a local and from a state level. The Pennsylvania Association of Realtors as well. We get involved when we're, a member and a board member at RAMP. We get involved at PAR, and then you see everything that the state does. So it's an eye-opening experience that we have been so fortunate, really to be part of the inner workings of that. And I think it's helped me grow as a practitioner. And I know you probably feel the same way.
Absolutely. I mean, we are ahead of the changes coming down the pike. We are advocating many times, sitting directly with our elected officials, our congressmen and senators in days we take to drive up to Harrisburg or Washington, D.C. several times a year to sit and talk to our officials about what's going on day to day. And they care just as much about the consumers as we do.
Sure do.
Because that is their voting body or their, elected area. So I enjoy getting involved on that level. Because that is what is going to directly affect our business months and years down the line.
Without a doubt.
And I've found it, obviously you have grown up with your parents in the industry as well. And, to make a career that is not only successful, but long lasting, I think it's important to be involved on that level.
Absolutely.
And there's so many different facets, like you were mentioning, our forms creations. Well, we're doing the work. We share a role on the forms and the commercial forms task force at the Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. So for example, that's a lot of work, but it's so important because it's the forms that our local practitioners are going to be using for months and years down the line. And
no doubt, I think that specific task force, and I laugh, I'm sure, the audience out there is watching me laugh. We take it so seriously because it is so serious. Yes. And especially, I'm vice chair at the state level for the Standard Forms Feedback Panel. Or no, I'm chair of the Standard Forms Feedback Panel and then vice chair of the Standard Forms Committee. And so you get placed as chair for different, like task forces and things. And this is one that we have been beating the drum very loudly for commercial presence, for more commercial presence at the state level. And the task force that Michelle is referencing is amazing, but some of our forms haven't been updated since 2002, right? So from a commercial perspective. So we are going line by line, and we are like comma placements, periods. I mean, content, everything. And there are what we really wanted to focus on was getting voices from across the Commonwealth. So we have representation from all 10 districts with varying levels of commercial experience, some having used the forms, some not having used the forms. And so unless you are involved at the association level, that all happens in the background. Yes. And one day the forms just roll out and you say, oh, there's new forms. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. We're going to update the way that we practice or, how we use these things. And you don't realize the months and months and months that go into, and we meet every other week for like 2 hours and, with a big Zoom, and we've got a great team. But it's those things that people don't really see, that go beyond the contract, right? Exactly. Like it's though they are the forms, though they are the contracts we are using and the addenda, et cetera, it's being part of something that is bigger than ourselves that I think is what's driving like people like yourself and myself to want to be part of the industry, not just in the industry. So, it's perfectly fitting for Beyond the Contract because it is so much more than just the contract, right? It is going above and beyond for the industry because ultimately this helps with not only our practice as, agents and brokers, but also it helps the consumer, it helps the public. So
it helps keep everything streamlined and up to date. And we're in an industry and world and market that is ever changing, and we need to adapt to those times.
Yep.
We've discussed so many different things. I always joke by the end of those meetings, I'm the little emoji man with the swirling eyes, but it's all worth it. And again, we get to input everybody's different perspectives or experience, adding lines that we felt we're missing or taking something away that's not relevant. And again, that's a volunteer role for both of us. But
all of these are.
Yes, all of these are. Yep. But we see the greater value, and that is what we are working to do to inspire our peers to be a part of that, because we need your voice, we need your presence and level of experience. Right, so much gets brought up when we're having those meetings and we're having those conversations, whether it's about forms or legislation or any of these important roles in your community as a whole.
Absolutely. And it really, to put a button on that, or the cherry on top, is you are not only collaborating with these people, these other agents, to help the industry, but you're also getting to know them on such a deeper level that, it makes everything so much more worth it, I think, and we're all characters, right? We all have our own personalities, but it's a really great way, we focus so much on the industry of getting the job done and getting the transaction done and advocating for our own client, that sometimes, and I'm just going to say we collectively, as an industry sometimes it can get, like almost combative sometimes when you're looking at, a different side of the contract or the transaction, or, sometimes tensions can run high between agents when they're trying to get a deal done. But this is a great way to really focus on collaboration and a great way for agents to kind of become more comfortable with each other. And, just help make the transaction smoother, I think, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head there. And I think you remember in your role as president when you would speak to the orientation class of new realtors joining the force. But that is one of the highlights I've always hit at my talk with them was make a friend. Make a friend in the industry. don't you want a friend on the other side of that transaction?
100%.
So many folks, I think, miss that message.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody to work together and better serve each other and your clients that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I'm glad I found a friend in you,
Yes,
Michelle.
well, we're long lost family.
We definitely think we are, for sure.
Yeah,
man.
that's funny. We've had the pleasure of working alongside our family, which I think is so special. You know, your dad, my dad, has been a guest and involved in our work and really been an inspiration to us both.
Totally.
And, I've so enjoyed getting to know and meet your father too, and your mom and everybody. So
well, they absolutely adore you.
Aww.
And if anyone hasn't had a chance to meet Michelle's parents, they are the sweetest people ever. I really do feel like we are related. We talk about this all the time. We have to do a 23andMe or something. Yeah. But they are just so down to earth, so wonderful. And also like the first people to like get up and help and offer and all of that, which certainly translates to why you are who you are, right? Yeah. And I think that you, especially too, from a community service perspective, I think like how involved your family has been, that's obviously been passed down to you. And you are so active and so involved in the community service from all aspects, not just real estate, you know? And I think that that's like, so love your family. Yeah. They're so amazing. And
I'm very blessed.
Yes,
very blessed.
We both are.
We are.
We both are. Yeah.
They've been an inspiration. And I always say, you know, I grew up, I really didn't know any other way. We were always working. We were always involved. We were always doing something in our community or supporting our leaders in some way because we saw the bigger picture of truly what makes your community, and real estate is a huge part of that.
Well, everyone lives somewhere and everyone works somewhere,
exactly.
Right? So it touches everybody's life in some capacity.
Yes. We always say that we want realtors to be known as advocates to our communities, which is why my passion too for community service has tried to really encourage all of our members and peers to join. And we've made some tremendous community partnerships throughout the way. The association, the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank, the Women's Center and Shelter, Light of Life. We're coming up. We're partnering with the Western Pennsylvania Conservancy to prepare a city park for spring. We get to plant flowers. That's always exciting. The fall is a little, winter's coming. We have to dig up all our beautiful flowers. But, there's so many different ways to get involved. And again, find something you're passionate about naturally. And there's so many ways to give back to your community and grow your business that way too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's a really great point. And, maybe when you're thinking about where you want to be as a practitioner, like maybe government affairs isn't your thing, right? But maybe commercial is, or maybe community services. Like there's so many ways to get involved. You don't have to just do forms, or you don't have to do government affairs. There's so many different things. There's the YPN, Young Professionals Network, that you could get involved with. And that's always I think that's a great stepping stone too, to kind of dipping your toe into association life. And quite honestly, you're meeting a bunch of people there who are kind of in the same boat. They are practitioners. They want to meet people. They want to have fun. They want to grow. They want to learn, and
our affiliate members too.
And our affiliate members, great point too. I mean, it's the same kind of concept as just like ripping the Band-Aid off and getting involved. And, I drank the Kool-Aid, right? So I'm very much an advocate for getting involved at the local and state and national, if you're able to do it, to get involved at those levels, because not only are you helping the industry and not only are you helping yourself grow, but you're meeting these people that become your family and your friends that, if I'm sure that if Michelle and I hadn't met through association life, we would have met through a deal or something, but that was kind of destined. But I just think about the people that we've come in contact with, that I can almost assure you I would never have met.
Right.
And, and I've learned so much from them that it's just a great way to just become a well-rounded practitioner and community member.
It is. And experience, when you speak to the national level, it's talking to other leaders in other cities, seeing how they're doing things, learning something new.
Right.
And or maybe lending, one of our ideas to them, and really bridging that gap.
Yeah.
Into different ways to work together, but ultimately better serve your clients and raise the level of professionalism in our industry.
Which I think is really important.
Yes.
I think that, and I hate blaming, everything on COVID. Okay. But
we can blame things on reality shows.
Listen. Well, it depends on which one. If it's Real Housewives, we'll have to fight. But no, I think COVID. I saw through the COVID debacle, through the industry, ethics and general care kind of go out the window in a lot of ways. And so, getting back to basics, getting back to where we can focus on education, focus on bettering ourselves. It isn't this like frenzy of like throwing caution to the wind, right? This is a legal transaction. This is
often the largest investment in someone's life, whether it is their home or home for their business.
Yeah, no, and I'm happy to see that there is a focus on getting back to that. And then going beyond the contract there. I mean, I know I keep like using your name, but it's so true, right?
Yeah, surprise. In the right place for it.
But I think that that's so important because I feel like so much of that care was lost. Not across the board, but I saw it in my everyday practice, not me personally, but I've unfortunately worked on the opposite side of transactions with agents who just felt like they lost that spark. And they were just like, let's get it done to get it done, et cetera.
Right.
And so I have seen over the last couple of years that that attention to detail and care coming back. And I think it really, I will say that it's probably because of our local, state, and national associations focusing on trying to get back to that,
The education.
The education, for sure.
And the professional standards.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And I think that helps drive our industry. And, we need a good name out there for ourselves, know? So, yeah.
So in talking about some real estate news, as we were mentioning that everything is ever changing and evolving, you were mentioning something earlier today that I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah. We are looking at, so first off, we have a new mayor, Corey O'Connor.
In the city of Pittsburgh.
In the city of Pittsburgh, yes. New mayor as of January. And, when we talk about real estate news and we talk about exciting things that are happening in the industry, especially here in Pittsburgh, because for those of you who might not be familiar with Pittsburgh, all eyes are on us on a national stage. Yeah. We were just listed as like top 8 in the country for.
We make a lot of those top 10 lists.
100%.
Affordable living.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that.
One I thought was really interesting at the end of maybe it was like middle of 2025 is that we were the 8th safest city from like weather related events, which I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
But yeah, we're always topping these charts, most affordable, best for first time home buyers, best for business travel. I think we made that list beginning of this year, end of last year, like number 9 on that list. So Pittsburgh is always being talked about, which is why I think it's such a hot market. But the really interesting thing when you're looking at news is development, right? And we see so much development happening, but development taking so long. And with the new mayor, with Corey O'Connor, his first executive order, this is what we were talking about, his first executive order as mayor was to try to find a way to streamline the permitting process. Because anyone who is in development knows the permitting process takes an exorbitant amount of time, far too long. I think that the city itself said, I think the quote was, it takes 8 months, but from experience, it takes 18 months to 2 years for certain things to really come into fruition. And it shouldn't be that way. And the mayor feels that way as well. So it's going to be really interesting. What the executive order did was basically say, hey, look, to these departments, I think it was mobility. I think DOMI, I think it was Department of Mobility and Infrastructure, definitely city planning. I know that it was PLI, permitting, licensing, and inspections. And I believe zoning too. Don't quote me on that one, but there's a great article on Trib Live about it. But essentially, he gave those departments 60 days to find out the best ways to streamline this process. Now, the mayor has said he'd love to see it take 4 weeks. I would love to see it take 4 weeks. I think we've got to crawl before we walk and walk before we run. But I am really excited to see where this goes, because if this does get streamlined and if the permitting process does take considerably less time, I think you're going to see a really great resurgence of Pittsburgh, another renaissance of Pittsburgh, because we have a bunch of development happening here, but not in a speedy way, And though I understand controlling growth is important, right? Because one of the great things about Pittsburgh is that, I always joke and say the end of the world can happen and Pittsburgh will feel it 10 years later, right? It's always been a very stable market. So I understand controlling the growth of a city is very important, especially from an infrastructure perspective, right?
Certainly. Especially an older city.
City. Exactly. So I understand that side of it, but we also have people who need housing. We also have people who need affordable housing. We have more projects that we would love to see go downtown to revitalize downtown again. So if this goes through, and when, knock on wood, that this goes through and they figure a way to streamline this, I think that's going to be, in my eyes, that's the biggest news happening in Pittsburgh, because we can top all of the charts and we can do all of that. But if you can't get a shovel in the ground, you're dead in the water, so I'm very excited about it.
I think that's a great point. And I think from a clientele perspective too, we've seen so many folks go to those surrounding areas and counties to build because of their frustration with this process.
Absolutely.
And what we have the land, we have the neighborhoods that need some revitalization. We have beautiful riverfront property that needs put to its highest and best use. And I think it's exciting that we do have a mayor that is, being
understands
very present and wants to understand everyone's perspective and find a great way, hopefully, to collaborate those perspectives and make a process that is reasonable and healthy for our city's growth.
Absolutely.
So, yes, you could speak to it firsthand. I know you've been dealing with a project yourself.
Yes.
That sounds exciting.
Yes. Thanks for the plug. Love that. No, we've been working on a 29-unit apartment complex, a little development, actually in Uptown, where you're seeing a lot of development and revitalization happening there. And we experienced all of the things that, other developers have been experiencing along the way, delays in permitting or occupancy delays based off of even if they have a skeleton crew, to come in and inspect, there's, it's taken way longer than it should have based on the logistics and how things move within the city. And so seeing that firsthand, in my first, I'll say, foray into development and seeing something from the ground up where I wasn't just working for a client, where I'm part of, I look at this as like an education process, right? Like where I got to see this from the ground up and I learned a side of development that I had not ever been a part of before, and not that I was swinging a hammer by any means. No one would want to live there if I was building it. But it's one of those things where until you're in it, just like the association work, until you're in it, you don't really realize how much goes into it. And from the outside, when you're looking, if you have no involvement with the development, like for example, mine's on the corner of 5th Avenue and Pride Street in Uptown, actually, which is where we're recording, we're recording in Uptown. When you're looking at a project like that from the outside, you might say, oh my gosh, it's been sitting there forever. I have no idea, and then the rumor mill, people just start talking. They don't realize that we might be, though we're building on the inside, don't realize that we can't do one more thing without having the last thing permitted and approved.
Exactly. One thing sort of hinges on another.
Exactly.
And it can cost a lot of money too, those delays.
Oh, absolutely. You think about when a project is delayed, the if you're using financing or if you're leveraging, right, to get the project done, if there's a construction loan, et cetera, the bank doesn't care if you're delayed. Well, they do care, but as long as they're getting paid, the bank wants their check every month and they want their payment. And, when you underwrite a project, like from a development standpoint and from a real estate perspective, when you underwrite a project, you don't underwrite 2 years worth of delays. You are underwriting, like you have a little give or take of delays, but you're underwriting something that is going to be making money based on your timeline, your schedule, and all of that when you open and when you're going to have your first rent check and all of that. You shouldn't have to factor in 2 years worth of delays or delays on occupancy permits when the building is already complete, waiting for someone to come out, And so watching that firsthand and living that firsthand to see, and like we've been open since December. We've had great activity and,
Congrats.
Thank you. Thanks. It's been super exciting, but it's been a lot of hurry up and wait. And that's what we've experienced. So to see the mayor's first executive order be about the permitting process, we aren't the only ones.
Sure.
And I think that there was kind of like some peace in knowing that future developments might not have the same issues that we had going through this process. And then, there have been several articles that have been written over the last year or two that talked about the permitting delays and how many projects just in Uptown alone were delayed. Like ours wasn't one of them that was mentioned, but there were a few other ones. Then there's downtown, then there's Shady Side. There's so many delays in development, and some developers couldn't hang in there any longer, and it does force people out because it is a financial burden. It's certainly it's an issue that I'm so happy the city is taking a look at because it's been far too long and it takes far too long. So kudos to you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, thank you.
Wishing the best of luck.
It's very encouraging, and I hope it will encourage other onlookers, developers to step in and say, wow, there's so much potential. Like I was saying, the riverfront property, South Side, North Side, downtown, there's such beautiful city neighborhoods and so unique to Pittsburgh. What else exciting do you see going on in Uptown?
There's a lot of my gosh, there's so much development happening in Uptown. And, I'm a Duquesne University alum, undergrad and master's. So having lived in the South Side, gone to Duquesne for both of those chapters of my life, I feel like Uptown has been my home for so long because Duquesne is kind of nestled in there between the Bluff and Uptown. Yes. So to watch the development that's happening there, the new Live Nation venue, the F&B tower that just went up, they opened November, I think, of 24, right? So we're seeing that that kind of expansion into what they're calling the Center District, but then also in Uptown and the Hill. You've got more shopping that's coming. You've got a new bus line that's coming down, new bus stop. So they're really trying to focus on revitalizing that area and helping to bring downtown and Oakland together through the Uptown community. Well, also, like, we don't have a grocery store. We have Moranti's, right? So we've got a little Italian grocery, which I love. But we don't really have a grocery store out there. So there's talks for a grocery store and, office space and everything. So there's so much activity. So I'm so excited about living in Uptown and being in Uptown and seeing where that's gone because I graduated college in 2008. So to see that almost 20 years, you always wanted, so much to happen in and around your campus, right?
And their campus has expanded
absolutely
so much. I've seen it from the years I went there. My family had gone there as well. And it's great to see. Absolutely.
And, the funny thing was, as soon as I graduated, Duquesne started doing all of these renovations, and then I was like, okay, great. I'm going there for my master's at some point. And then I came back and I was like, oh, great. I get to use some of this. And then they did a whole nother round of renovations and expansions. And I was like, okay, so I just won't get to enjoy this.
I know.
Yet,
but, I know. I said
maybe if I go back for a doctorate. Gosh, no.
I said the same thing. Their housing and their facilities are really beautiful.
Yeah.
And their programming is expanded as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Health and so many things in addition to business and
they just did the School
studies.
of DO medicine, I think. Yeah. That just opened not too long ago, within the last year or two, I think. So super exciting stuff.
We'll have to come visit you at your building.
Come on down.
One of our on-site tours.
Love that. I think we're gonna be doing one with the Realtors Association probably soon.
Great.
So maybe we'll bring a camera.
Yes, I think we should. We'll do a follow-up.
I would love that.
That's great. That's great to see all the exciting activity in Pittsburgh.
We're fortunate that we live in an area and that Pittsburgh is so prime for redevelopment opportunity that is accessible to everybody. I think is the best way, to kind of to say that, because they're making sure that programs are in place that, people aren't getting pushed out of their neighborhoods. So I think that's really important too.
And I think our city is so resilient as well.
Oh, for sure.
We have seen so many iterations of these key neighborhoods. For example, South Side, in the 80s, there was sort of what you'd call, a shift in the market, and things were closing up. And we've seen some of that in the past couple of years, but we've also seen this resiliency, this resurgence of, one business closed, but a new one opened, and it's of a different kind. And there's still so many people dedicated to these community groups that either are from what I call the old school, that they knew how it was many years ago, or were close like I was with their parents and grandparents' generation, that feel like they were there through that history. And sort of blending that passion, that deep-rooted passion, with some of the new market that you have to adjust and cater to as well. So we're sort of seeing those little resurgences in South Side and downtown, definitely on North Side with that new development there in Uptown.
Yep.
And so it's very exciting.
It is.
One of the articles, I can't remember if it was for the Pennsylvania Association or something, that we've collaborated on many times together. Pittsburgh's affordability and, housing market always, again, gets those top lists. But I think what supports that is the affordable living aspect, not just the price of the house, but the affordability of the community around it.
Yep.
And
without a doubt,
that's sort of what you're seeing too.
Absolutely.
In the Uptown area.
Absolutely. And, when you talk about resiliency, I just think about the 90 neighborhoods that make up Pittsburgh, and how they each have their own character and, their own identity. And we're a strong people. We're the Steel City for a reason, And so I think that when you talk about resiliency and you talk about people fighting for identity and keeping keeping the neighborhoods their neighborhoods, I think it comes down to the heart of the city is our people, and how well they focus on maintaining their identity for each of these neighborhoods. And that in and of itself brings out the resiliency, right? They don't want a community to fail. They don't want to see stores close up. But if there is, they're helping to find something else to fill its spot. So it's been really fun to watch what Pittsburgh has gone through over the last 5 or 6 years from the pandemic, right? Because I think we have banded together in a way that many other cities haven't. When you look at the 50 largest metros, how communities have come together, great, but Pittsburgh has taken it a step further, and they have refused to let up on the gas to keep being at the top of the list. There, so I'm so proud to be a Pittsburgher and to see what's been happening. So
I think that's great. I think our people's roots go very deep, and so they care very much. Yep. And like yourself, I lived away for many years and came back, and so we have a different perspective because we've experienced living and working in other cities. So we have something to compare it to. Absolutely. And can really speak to that uniqueness that we have.
Yeah. No, it's been Pittsburgh proud, baby. That's
Absolutely. So what else exciting are you working on in your free
Michelle.
time?
It's like, how much do we have? I do have one exciting thing that I've been working on that you know of. Yes. I have launched a podcast, talked about Hot Market Cold Brew is the name of it. Yes. And I had a fabulous first guest, my very first episode. It was Michelle. No, but that's what I've been working on. I've been outside of my association work and outside of my the building and my book of real estate business that, between Pennsylvania and West Virginia, because I'm licensed down there as well. One of the things that I felt inspired, having been president of RAMP in 2023 and president of the CCIM, the Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware chapter of CCIM, was taking those experiences and seeing both sides, residential and commercial, and having met so many amazing people, that I wanted to start a podcast that kind of brought people on to cover every aspect of the industry, while focusing on Pittsburgh and what makes Pittsburgh such a hot market. And I love coffee and I love cold brew. And so the thought was kind of put the two things together, because the best conversations about real estate I've ever had have always been with a client or a friend over a cup of coffee, right? We're kind of like what we're doing here, just like chatting about real estate. And that's kind of what I wanted the vibe to be. But I wanted there to be education components, and I wanted to bring guests on, and kind of let the guest be the guide for that episode. And so having you on as my first guest was amazing, because we got to talk about going beyond the contract and what that looks like and how others can get involved. And, I had a lender on episode 2. I had an appraiser on episode 3. So there's so many great people that we've come in contact with just from being involved at the local and state level, that we need to get the word out there. And I felt compelled to do that. And with Pittsburgh being such a fabulous market to be in, said, why not? And so we launched in December, and we've been doing about an episode a month since then. So we're cooking up something fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you.
Where
Thank you.
can everyone find you?
Oh, geez. Everyone can find me. I was like, me and my multiple personalities. I was like, which one? I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, Dominic Janidas. I am on Instagram at Dominic Janidas. And then on YouTube for my podcast at Hot Market Cold Brew.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be tuning in. I can't wait to see what episode 4 has to bring.
Stay tuned. It's pouring really soon.
Coffee pun intended.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we have fun with it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
joining us today and
Thanks for having
bringing
me.
some really great, insightful real estate news to our show.
Well, you're too kind. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here. I will say you are going to crush this.
Oh.
You are so amazing. She's wonderful. And keep tuning in. You are going to see some amazing content coming from her. And I'm just so excited for you. And I'm so proud of you. And I'm so honored to be part of this journey.
Thank you.
Yeah, of
well,
course.
I'm grateful to have a friend in you.
Yeah.
And we'll
Likewise.
see you at those committee meetings.
Oh, yes. I think we've got one coming up soon.
Yes, like this week.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.